Welcome to the RCB Sports Show. I'm joined here by Nicholas Wren. Sadly today we don't have Seamus. Seamus is off on a conference meeting, so but we'll fire away into it. It's been a crazy weekend with hurling as usual, with the championships going along and intermediate, and I think we'll start off by congratulating Aine Kilnamona for their great win, a superb performance. The other part of it was down in Tulla. It was a fantastic match there between a hard-fought match between Ballyea and Scariff, with some great scoring there by Mark Rogers, and of course Garrod O'Connell basically came there to bring the team back around, bring Ballyea back around within a fighting chance, and brought it up to level pegging, and to his tooth and nail right to the last second, as they fought for every minute of that game anyway. But Nicholas, did you went to your home game there? You went to the...
Yeah, I did. I went in. As I said last week, I was expecting Aine Kilnamona to win. I was expecting to produce a performance, which they absolutely did, even above what I expected from them. But they played the way they can play. They played with guts and determination and heart. And that was just the missing ingredient in the first two games. For whatever reason, I don't know. I was lambasted here in my own club about what I said, but I told the truth. And if you tell the truth, then you're free. But the performance they put in against Kilmaley was just a complete performance. Eamon Foodie and goals, his puck outs alone were, long and deep and into forwards that were creating havoc, really. Shane Woods came up from cornerback, scored two great points in the first half. Seamus Foodie scored a great point. Sean Reen a great point. David Fitzgerald 2-2. I think he scored, the captain of the team, led by example, played in the forwards, which we think is his best position for the club. Conor Hegarty came up with 2 points. Evan Mack came up with a goal. So Niall Mullins, who had played corner forward, he was named to play corner forward. He wasn't getting anything in corner forward because he was on big cornerbacks. Niall isn't the biggest man in the world, but in both midfield, he found the freedom of the pitch and he scored 3 marvellous points, and he just was a dynamo. So I think for Louis McQueen, I suppose it took him maybe that couple of games to find what his best team was. I don't think he had his best team out, but he had as near as you could say to the best team. And then, of course, Aidan McCarthy scored. I'm not too sure exactly what he scored, but he was putting over frees and from play. Aidan was absolutely outstanding, and he was the big shot in the arm for Aine Kilnamona. He was missing for the first 2 games, and we saw how valuable he was. It was a huge performance. So when you had those options up front, then Kilmaley came out. Kilmaley were flat. And I think, they probably came out with the belief that they were going to win the game, and maybe believe that too much. You have to work hard for it. They were depending on Michael O'Malley and Michael O'Neill for their main scoring threat. They were the ones who posed the threat. Which a few of their bigger players didn't really turn up on the day. I think they were sort of, I won't say they were shocked, but they just weren't ready for the battle that Aine Kilnamona were going to bring. So it didn't, and the nice is, and I know this team are capable of games like that. There'll be a lot of people delighted that Aine Kilnamona gone out of the championship because they're one of the very best teams in it. Just to get the performance out of them, and that's what they got. Louis McQueen took him a while, I think, to probably get his best 15. It's hard to do in the league, and then injuries, of course. But we left Cusack Park, and this is a shame for the county board that we had to rush out to Tulla to see the other game, the big game between Ballyea and champions. Everybody wants to see the county champions play, and then Scariff, the new pretenders on the block. And I only got there at half time. No parking out there. It's just a nightmare to get parking there. But that's not the county board's fault. But the timing of the game, I mean, come on. There's people in there who know better on that committee, who should know that people want to get to these games. And for to get there at half time, just not good enough. We shouldn't be accepting this You know, this should be called out by the people who went to the county board there, i.e., or delegates. They need to be raising these serious questions. Like, you know, I can sit at home and watch the golf for anything else. They won't clash for anything else. But the GAA are constantly doing this, and here in Clare we have a very bad record that we can't organise our games so we can get around. They give us a season ticket and then they put games down the top of one another.
Yeah.
You know, and anyway, I got out there for half time. It looked like Ida Kilmona were still going to be in the championship at half time of that game because Scariff were up 8 points at half time, and you couldn't see because Jack Brown got off injured as well, unfortunately, and wish him a speedy recovery. I'm not too sure what the injury was, but he had to be carried off, I believe. And the big loss, and you think down top of Tony Kelly and a couple more players that had injuries and retirements and everything. You think there's nowhere left for Ballyea, but Ballyea found a way. And that's what the Ballyea do best, and they came back and they made a draw of it in the end. Like Scariff were home and host, and they missed in the second half that I was there. They missed 2 goals, and they missed 3 or 4 points from 3 anyway. Scored with freeze, like which
one of the goals there was a great save there. It was a great save. It was unbelievable. But I think there was a lad there that really I heard about him earlier in the year. Back in when they were playing the league, the 2 brothers, Key and Kirby, had a phenomenal game. I thought it was great score by him.
Yeah, Keane Kirby. I think Keane Kirby got the win at the equalising point. I stand corrected, but he was phenomenal. Yeah, he's a new kid on the block, and you could pick him out. And he's we were in the stand there, and I was saying, a couple of guys said to me, "Who's this guy?" And you could certainly. I think his brother Feature came on as well.
He did near this. So both of them were on, yeah.
Yeah, so good news for Ballyea to have lads like that coming, like but you mentioned Gerard O'Connell, like Tony Kelly steps out through injury. He's going to be back. I don't know if he'll be back for the tail end of the championship or not. Hopefully he will. But Gerard O'Connell stood up like the man that he is, like, and he stood up with a 5-star performance. And he knew Tony wasn't there. He knew Jack was after going off. And he said, I'm going to. He rolled up his sleeves and he said, I'm going to do it. And he did. He was just tremendous, like, and he's having a great year anyway, like, but he was outstanding, really and truly, and, brought them right back into the game, scored some great points, and Niall DC as well, like, it's Ballyea an enigma because you expect at half time 8 points down. You expect, this and the injury they had got with Jack Brown and Tony's not there, and there's a few more lads not there as well. Like, and you're saying to yourself, like, this game is over, like, and yet they find a way to stay in the championship. That cup, I think they have it nailed down out there in Ballyea. They're not letting it go, and. Ballyea come up with a performance when you least expected. They're such a team, and we saw them beaten by Ina Kilmona in the championship, and they came back and beat them. They were down 4 points coming down the back straight. The following year they come out against Kilmaley, they're down 3 points on the back straight into injury time, and they find a way to win the game. Like, so they're just that's the heart and spirit. And that's what Ina Kilmona and fairness showed last Sunday as well, that if they had gotten through, they would propose. I think they would have been the business in, but that's how it goes. Like, Scariff, I suppose, Scariff in the back of their minds had a safety net, and they knew that they wouldn't be out of the championship. And sometimes that plays tricks with the mind as well. Like, Patrick Ryan was straight through for a goal. Now, it was a great block and a great save. But there was nobody in goals. All he had to do was a tap in. I think he couldn't believe it himself, probably. So that's what happens. Like, Mark Rogers was off form with the freeze. He had a tremendous game. He's unbelievable to watch. He's 3 Ballyea lads on him at one stage and a ball on the ground. He got down, got the ball, and got away from the 3 of them. And then I tell you one thing: to do that is just his unbelievable skill, his unbelievable strength.
Yeah,
and he just seems to know how to get out of that pack and make room for himself, and I love watching him hurl.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Crotty had a quieter game than what would normally we'd expect of him. Like, you know,
Yeah.
but you know, that's good. That's part of the territory. Like, you know, so
I think
yeah, but
one of the
that's
things I
sort of
thought,
that group. Huh?
I think one of the things I was a bit disappointed with Ballet was how late they left it to bring Martin O'Leary on, and he had a great game against Ina Kilnamona.
Yeah,
There,
he got the winning goal. Yeah,
yeah, and I think
well, he got the goal. Yeah.
they seem to be. He should be coming on a lot sooner than the last. Like I know they brought Keane Kirby on and they brought Fika, but I think that would have made a difference because I think he's underestimated. He's having a great year. But then something you said
No,
earlier,
Martin always gives.
huh?
Martin always gives everything, you know, and
Is
he always comes up with big goals in county finals, and you know definitely yeah.
so something
I
you were
probably
saying there
wouldn't
about
remember my name.
one thing the
Yeah,
championships I noticed has really brought
but
to
yeah, that group now it's a kind of a head-to-head Scariff against Kilmaley to
yeah,
see who goes through. Ballyea aren't 100% true, but I think Scariff can do them a big favour if they beat Kilmaley, you know, and
yeah,
you know Kilmaley really need to respond now
mm,
from less Sunday's game, like so it's a big championship game. One we'll look forward to in a couple of weeks' time, you know, and that'll be. I hope that's on Cusack Park because I think it'll suit both teams
yeah.
and it'll suit us to be watching the bigger pitch, like, you know.
But what we were saying earlier when the championship started and Ballyea were beaten by Kilmaley, the thing that's really coming forward now is you get to see who are the real champions. You know, when you see a team, yeah, like Ina Kilnamona struggling to start, but where you see the quality of a team over the years is when Kilmaley did well and they won and Scarf, but then as it's moving on and these teams are under pressure, you see people like Ballet, no matter how bad things are getting, or Ina Kilnamona, then they start putting the pressure on. They can go the long haul. They go for the long ball, as they say in the championship. So they'll come back. Whereas Kilmaley seem to be now fading a little bit, I think. And you said there was two players missing. That was missing, as in like they weren't there for Kilmaley, was it?
What I mean is they were there, all right, but they
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh, sorry.
They didn't live up to they used their own standard. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think they got a little bit shell shocked with the way Ina Kilmore came out with the
Yeah.
all guns blazing,
Yeah.
and they probably expected to see it in places Ina Kilmore, but you know, in fairness to Ina Kilmore, they gave it the best shot they had to try and get themselves back into that championship, and they just came up 1 point short because of a point win for
Yeah.
Scariff, which looked very much on the cards until that late point for Ballyea. You
Yeah.
know, it would be a different story, but it's something to build on. I think they're in the senior B. There was been question, but as far as I know, they're in the senior B, and they should really go for that now and finish off the year with a bit of silverware if they can.
Yeah.
Actually, the senior B is nearly as tough as the senior A. The
Yeah.
teams have gone down there now. 6 Mile Bridge, for instance, have gone down there now, and some other really A teams, if you like, in gone into the senior B. No, so that's got to be if they. It'll be interesting to see who can take that little bit of a consolation prize.
And Clonlara now are there at the top of Clonlara at the top of their group, and Crusheen and 6 Mile Bridge with O'Callaghan and Mills. There with
Yeah,
2 points. So
well, we had a practical situation. O'Callaghan's Mills against all the odds beat 6 Mile Bridge
yeah,
with a late goal. The Bridge were expecting to win that and you know, progress. So the late goal, and then we had Clonlara beating Crusheen in Cusack Park.
mm,
And suddenly nobody knew, which is unbelievable, that nobody knew what the permutations were or what the situation was, except for one official from Cusheen, who was able to tell everybody that it was the last 3 teams in the group that the points difference was made up, not the 4 teams. The
mm,
top team went through, and it was left to the 3 teams then to see the points difference, which meant 6 Mile Bridge went out and Cusheen went through.
yeah,
Had it been the 4 teams, 6 Mile Bridge would have gone through.
yeah,
But the point about it is, no one from the county board, this should have been written down in black and white on the match programme of what was going to happen. Like if it was going to go to penalties, it would be written in the programme for everybody to see. But nobody, this came down from Croke Park, and nobody understood it, either understood it or took the trouble to read it. So we had a big night below when tourists came to town, and they rolled out the red carpet. But here we have teams who are fighting to get into the latter stages of the championship, who have put in a massive amount of work in training, and nobody knows the rules. You couldn't write it. You could not write this. Now, I've given note about the fixtures. Well, I'm giving note about this because, I mean, to say that nobody could sit down and say, well, what's going to happen in these scenarios?
Yeah.
And it takes a Christian official to point out what the rules actually are. I just, I just beggars belief. We thought we were going to a professional era in Clare, but you'd have to question what's going on there.
Yeah, it's shocking that they only find out in the sideline.
If you don't put your players and your team, the teams have to be number one. Everything has to be put in there. That's why we go into Cusack Park. That's why we go over to Tulla. That's why I was early caught for speed and trying to get over to Tulla to see that game against Scariff and Ballyea. So the teams have to be put first, and the supporters have to be put first. The supporters are the most important people. That without the supporters, without the stewards, and without the teams, you have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Anything else, people coming in with money and saying they want this or they want that, and red cap rolled out to them, they mean nothing to me or to any supporter. What is important is teams and managers and supporters, and that has to be put front and centre. And I didn't see that this year yet. I've seen flaws. And there's a lot of other great work going on, and we praise that, and we have praised it. And that, but the hurling and football isn't about money. You need money to run county boards. You need money to do up Cusack Park and Carlow, and you need and that's lovely, and that's proper order. But the teams have to come number one.
Yeah,
players coming into Cusack Park should be treated like royalty, and the teams as well, because they are the royalty of the GAA. And there's what makes the GAA tick and what makes it work for us. And that's why we go to these matches. And that's why we have the best product in the world as regards the two sports we have in men's and the men's game and the women's game, the hurling and the football. Yeah. The best product in the world. It can sell itself on its own.
Yeah.
But all you need is the right conditions and the right people to put those conditions in place. And until we get that right, that the players are number one, supporters are number one, I put the two of them up side by side.
Yeah.
And you can deal with your sponsors, whatever, then give them whatever they need after. But first things first.
Yeah, you need the supporters, need the crowd. You can't have them leaving one game to try and drive. But they could have given an extra hour and started that game. And
they could have given an hour. There was no. I mean, when you sit down to do fixtures, you've got to think of the players and the teams, and you've got to think of the supporters. Yeah. Supporters want to go to games. I go out and you go out. I have a pass, obviously, but if you pay €180, I think it is, for your pass, you want to be able to see the games at the weekend. You don't want them down on top of one another.
Yeah.
So
is that pass?
It is a bit of thought. I just beggars belief why anyone would do what they did last weekend. And as I said, there's people in those committees that you would expect more from, that they would have the foresight to say, well, the people from Kilmaley and the people from Aina Kilmore will want to see the other game. That's a very important group for them. Yeah. And they will want to go out and see it. The managers will want to go out and see it. And yet, half-time is the best that we could manage. It took me about 20 minutes out there looking for. It took me a good 10 minutes looking for parking space. I had to walk from the O'Callaghan's Wills Cross back to the game. But that's another. That's not. That's just the way it is. But
yeah, they need to look at it. They need to look at the timing of these games so that people can get to.
Yeah, unless we call it out, it's not going to happen. I'm not down on top any individual or any or trying to get any won over anybody. But we have to call these things out. So they might have a look at it, like when they sit down in the next meeting, they say, look, we made a couple of mistakes here. We need to rectify these things and make sure they don't happen again. We're all human. It's an amateur sport. It's an amateur game. So
I was looking at Group 3 too as well. The Market now are top of their table again. Wolf Tones are at the bottom. So I think, and as you said, there, Wolf Tones, they haven't got a win yet, and they could have got one.
Yeah.
Was it Sunday they were playing there?
Yeah, they were going really well. The game, the Market didn't need to win, but local rivalry and all that. And Wolf Tones were going really well, and they really pushed for it. But then they shot themselves in the foot. They had 2 minutes and off, and the Market pulled away at the end. So yeah, it's not a good year so far for Wolf Tones, who are now in relegation, going to be at that relegation battle. Only Kilnamona and Bearfield have to play off as well to see who's going into who go into the pot for that relegation battle as well. So still a lot to play for.
The Market, Clooney Quinn, Marcus has 3 wins and Clooney Quinn have 2, but they're both on they're both both on scoring is pretty much the same, So they're pretty there. So what happens there with them now with their upcoming games? I mean, what's the plan there?
Which say that again?
So the Market and Ferguson, Clooney Quinn, and Market at the top of their group. So they're what are they? They have 3 wins. The Market and Clooney Quinn at 2. So
yeah, I think Wolf Tones and Cratlow are gone. I think it's Clooney and the Market going through. So they just have to play out the final game. But Clooney Quinn had a huge win over. They put 5 goals past Cratlow, who just haven't fired this year for some reason. They just haven't caught fire, and they have the players and that, but just didn't seem to happen this year. And they go. They're looking at a relegation battle as well.
Yeah.
Clooney Quinn are going really well. They beat Shannon, and we know over Cratlow puts them in. They're going really well. They had Peter Duggan's red card rescinded. They have some fine players there. They're going to be strong. You have Clooney Quinn, you have Feakley, Eroke had a big win over Clarecastle. They're beginning to find their touch now as well in that group. You have Clonera, who are sailing high as well. So Kilmaley still in there. Scariff are there. Ballyea, the champions, of course, are there. So it's been Crusheen. So it's going to be very interesting the next round of games, because that'll really is going to really decide things. That's what the big one is. The big one to be decided is Scariff and really tight group, Scariff and Kilmaley. That'll be a must-see game, and hopefully there won't be any clashes. That was a game we're looking forward to. The championship is really exciting now, because you have all those teams in there, a good mix, and teams that we haven't expected. Maybe not that we didn't expect them, but that there's a level playing field there. There's teams gone down now. The likes of Kilnamona, the likes of 6 Mile Bridge, the likes of Cratlow. They're big senior A teams, and they're going down to the senior B.
Yeah.
And they'll be joined by Wolf Tones, and they'll be joined by O'Callaghan's Mills, who were in the final only 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line between being in the quarter final of a senior championship and being in a relegation battle, or being in the senior B championship. So it's finely balanced, and there's teams who are going to be very disappointed and are disappointed as we speak. But that's.
So that game between Scariff and Kilmaley. So if Scariff do Ballyea a favour and beat Kilmaley, where's that puts Ballyea then? That puts them.
Yeah, Ballyea, I think they're on 5 points at the moment. Scariff are on 5 points. Kilmaley are on 4. Now, if Kilmaley were to win, they would leapfrog Ballyea. It'd be 6 points.
Yeah.
So really and truly, what a draw would suffice for Scariff for Ballyea, I think. if my calculations are right. So, but a win for Scariff, definitely. It's Ballyea go through to the next round, and along with Scariff and Kilmaley, they're not in relegation trouble, but they don't progress, obviously. And a win for Kilmaley would put them through. So that's a real championship game, a real
it's
when it takes all game, it was really like,
And speaking of Ireland, Kilnamona, have
Scariff need to win this game as well, like, or at least draw it to ensure to progress.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be scrambling to have a game after that and counting up scores and hoping that somebody else has put you through, like, so.
Is there any, like, we've seen a few injuries go around the camp now? Is Aidan McCarthy? Is he back or is he injured?
Aidan McCarthy's back, sure. Yeah, he played. It was outstanding for Aidan Kilmona. He's hopefully fully recovered now, and I presume he'll be lined up for Kilmurray Abricken at the weekend. Or played some part. I'm sure they want to get him on the pitch. It's great to see Aidan back. He showed everything, his quality. When he's fit, he's quality player. Like, no doubt about that.
Because he was, he wasn't 100%, especially there a while back when they played Ballyea. He wasn't playing. So there was worries there. But now we're seeing a few injuries pop up with, obviously Jack Brown, which would be a loss. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything now if that's serious. But then across, has there been Kilmaley? How are they looking? Like, are they? Is there any injuries there?
They lost Keane Maloney because he went to before they had a Kilmona game, and he was a big loss to really. He was their new centre back if he will came back from the forwards and was working out really well for them. So he's a big loss. I'm not too sure if they have any other injuries. I don't remember anybody going off injured now. So hopefully they'll have a full deck. They've lost a few players to immigration, and it's hit a lot of teams, like, they'll want to have everybody for this big game, like, to really, maybe the only Kilmona game was just a shot that they needed, the kick they needed to get them up to where they need to be. That's a big game, like, to look forward to. That's why the games that brings us on. Clonlara, on the other hand, they're a great team going through as well, like, and they have the big players. And watch out for Jayton McMahon. He's the captain there. He's absolutely flying it at the moment. Patrick O'Loughlin, the great Sean Conlon, Ian Galvin, Colm Galvin, all these lads, Aidan Moriarty. And Jeremy Stritch is another lad who grew up from under 21. He's a hurler. I like watching him because he's a lovely hurler, lovely skillful hurler, and he's producing great stuff, developing now into a senior hurler. And there's players like that that you'll pick out now in and that's what Brian Lohan wants to see, players coming through. John Conneely from Clooney Quinn is another big player that we'll be hoping now can step up from under 21 and make it all the way to the senior panel. So Fecal in the big strong team, going really well, and they'll have a say for sure. Then Aero, with Shane O'Donnell, obviously Danny Russell, Kieran Russell, Aaron Fitzgerald, they have the players. They was really, so they definitely have the players. David McNamara is a big loss to him. He's going to be lost to the footballers as well, but more so to the hurlers. He was a huge workhorse really for them. Like, so he's going to be a big loss. Clarecastle will be disappointed again with a year. They're struggling every year now. The last number of years to stay in Division 1, and they're going to have a struggle again this year, but they're masters at it now, and if they can keep it going, you would surely say that Clarecastle are going to come up with a team sooner or later, that will challenge, for places. So
looking at the weekend too, the football, one of the games that stands out to me, I know it's on Cusick Park, I believe, on Sunday. Clondigad are playing. Clondigad are playing. So I have to have a brain fart there now. They're playing.
Milton, no?
Yeah, it is Milltown. Yeah, that's right. They're playing Milltown. So,
Yeah.
but Clondigad, the both of them, they have to they have to get something out of this. They have to win here. I mean, it'll be a hard fought battle now. Or Milton will have it up against them because they're going up against a better team. I mean, I think personally, but Clondigad will be wanting to. They'll be wanting to pull a win there, especially.
Yeah,
But
that's going to be a big match, yeah, for both teams. Milton has a huge experience, but so Clondigad.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with Clondigad the last day against Doonbeg. They found the net a couple of times, which is promising for them. So
yeah,
that's going to be a big game for both clubs to see if they can progress. But it's hard to see a rogue relinquishing that cup, even at this early stage.
Yeah.
They won't be talking like that, but the word from football people is that it's going to take some effort and there's only one or two teams in the county that might be able to put it up to them.
And Kildysart are very strong. I mean, I know that they might not be able to pull the socks down off a rogue, but they can definitely, if they do end up coming up against them, if it's a
definitely, yeah, they have great players and great go up from intermediate. They play lovely brand of football. They play attacking style football, very lively football. So it might be a little bit of a year too soon, but what they'll be aiming for is to stay up. Not to go back down again, and I think they will do that in the performances they put in so far. They were caught in the first round against Innis Diamond. I suppose the first game they weren't at the pace, but they found their mojo now, and they're really going well. Yeah, absolutely. Kilmurray are breaking out as a big team as well. They can wear you down, and they can, they're a bit like Bellier. They know how to win games. They have young players coming as well. They'll be in the mix. It's all about staying up now for some teams as well, staying in senior, and not getting into relegation.
So, Nicholas, you were at the Women's Irish Open in Dumoulin Castle there. They started up this weekend, so a big crowd was there. A couple of Clare girls. And
there was a nice crowd there. Yeah, there was a nice crowd there, and nice atmosphere there, and the weather wasn't the very best, but it stayed dry and fairly, so the sun came up for a while as well for the biggest part of the day. The biggest problem we're going to have down there today is parking, because they're parking in the field there, and even yesterday evening they had to there was a teleporter on hand to get people out, so it'll be worse today because it was really getting mucky there yesterday, but that's for the logistics or whatever, but the golf itself was very entertaining, everything was well ran down there, and and as I said, a nice atmosphere, and great to see the Irish players there, and the two Clare girls, Anya Lilligan and Aileen Walsh. It was great to see them participating, and it was great to see. It was a 15-year-old Olivia Costello from Roscommon who was playing in there as well. Fantastic to see her, and of course Leonie Maguire was the big pull there as well. Leonie is going with his 5 shots off the lead, which she made a late burst, and put herself back into contention. 5 shots in the first day out, it's not a bad place to be on 71. And an Indian girl is on 65, Dagger, Dagger, and Gordine Keu of USA is on 66, and Emma Gresh of France joins her as well, and that's the leaderboard. There's a good few Irish girls in it there as well, a few more Irish girls, and Emma Fleming is in there as well, and so a good Irish interest Kate Lenigan is in there as well. So it's, you know, I'm not a golf person. I play a small bit of golf, you know, at a very low level, like, and just play for fun, really. Like, so it's for the likes of me to go down there, to walk around the course and to get an insight into from other people that was there, like, and to get to understand the game more closely, get to understand the players. I had a great chat with Aileen Walsh after the game, and I was talking to her father as well, like, and you know, explaining how they got into golf, and you know, Aileen lived up beside Woodstock there, but
Yeah.
her father got her brother into the club and brought him down to play golf, like, and Aileen was there, and it was the competitive nature of her came out, and she wanted to play as well, and that's how she started to play golf there in Woodstock, and you know, became the great player that she is now. She balances where she's an amateur, but she's playing in there with the professionals. Like, she's a school teacher, she's done a master's degree, so she's a huge work ethic, and I don't know how she can manage the time, but because golf is different to most. It's a bit like snooker, I suppose. You have to be on the practice course the whole, you know, an awful lot. There's no break, and Ione McGuire was telling us that you know, somebody asked her, did she ever get time to go on holidays or take a break from golf? She said no, the only break she has is Christmas, because the tour goes from January to November, and you know, flying all over the world. So you get into exotic locations and all that, but I doubt there's too much time to soak it in, like. So it's a huge commitment, golf, but obviously they love it, and you know, Leonie Maguire got into golf purely by accident as well. Her twin sister broke her arm, and part of her rehabilitation, the doctor suggested she should take up a racket sport.
Yeah.
And actually, she took up golf. She does a local golf club
Yeah.
in Cavan there, and her sister obviously became. They both of them were great players, but
Mm.
Leonie has gone on to world recognition. Fantastic player,
So
real professional, you know. And I bumped into her mother and aunt, and lovely people, you know, real down to earth, and it's great to see him doing so well, like. So. But
yeah.
it's a great competition. Great, well done to Dromoland and
Yeah.
everybody involved down there. It's a really well run competition, and looking forward. I'm going to go down there again. So
Yeah, I'd say it is hectic down there. My mother only lives down the road, so it's a bit hectic, I'd say, with traffic around the area. But I suppose it's not too bad. It's a pretty wide road anyway, and it's straight off the motorway, so it's
it is,
perfect venue for
yeah,
you know.
it's perfect. It's easy to get there. It's easy access. But the parking is brilliant. It's in the field and this weather.
Yeah,
So I don't know how great they're going to manage that, but I'm sure that maybe they'll find a fresh patch of ground or whatever. But I'm sure they'll come up with a solution. The Hinch will be delighted with it, because they came in for a huge amount of praise from players. I was talking yesterday,
right.
and that is, they'll be absolutely good. They get mentioned almost every interview down there, like, you know, the great course of Sydney Hinch, like, and they'll be delighted. Woodstock has shot up as well, and in the golf club. So
I think
it's
what's great about sports in Ireland and other sports outside of GA is that Ireland is wouldn't be the top country in the world for golf, but it is a kind of a mecca. But it's the same. I hear the same about horse racing. We always do very well too when we go abroad over to England, and some of the best horses in the world are kept in Ireland as well. It's the same, and
yeah,
with the golf and even now the women's soccer
yeah.
now well in the World Cup and all
Women's
that.
sport is exploding. If you, I don't know if you ever heard of a fella called Billy Coleman. He was a rally driver there from
Yeah,
I think he was from Mill Street in Cork. He was a rally driver back in the 70s and into the 80s, I suppose. But Billy Coleman said, you know, when he was competing with the top drivers in the world, like, and he was able to beat them. And what he said back then was that, you know, the men's this we was talking about men's sports was that time, that they didn't really believe in themselves that they could compete on a world stage. And he said he didn't believe in himself until he actually started competing, and he found out, hold on a minute, I can beat these. the best that the British and the Europeans have on the world stage, you know. So he was a leader, really, like in what he said there, like. And then we got our soccer team, we got our rugby team, and we got, you know, who started to believe, and in the individual Sean Tracy, so
Yeah.
All those great sports people, Damon Coughlin, that could compete because they started to believe, hey, we're as good as anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And I think we're at the stage in now where the women's sport have had their huge role models now as well. And
Yeah.
they have come along now and said we can compete
Yeah.
at the top level as well.
Yeah.
And they're just beginning to, that these golfers have proven that, you know, and that's young girls who were there yesterday. There was a young group down from Strand Hill, very young, mostly girls and a few boys in it as well. And Leonie McGuire gave them a few lessons, and to see the enthusiasm in them, and when she'll be their hero, like, and that's what it's all about. And we've two great girls here in Clare playing the game at the top level, like, as well, like, so, and blazing the trail in America as well, like, you know, so.
Yeah. Another thing too, we almost had a major milestone in women's sports there, only for a girl called Megan Armitage. She's a pro cyclist, and she was supposed to start for the first time in history. A woman from Ireland was going to start the Tour de France, and she got injured the morning before. She was out for a spin. I think she got hit by a car, so it wasn't serious, but she was out, and that would have been a major milestone. And we have a girl from Clare too. She's originally, the family are from Kilrush area, the Cotters. So Imogen Cotter, but she lives in Rowan. But she was an Irish national champion, got back into cycling late, and she's an Irish national champion, former national champion. She was involved in a very bad car accident there about a year or so ago, abroad training. She's with one of the biggest teams in the world. But herself and but Megan Armitage would be like the Premier League of cycling. She made it up there, but it's the same. Like, we have the same now. We have a young lad. He's just turning 18. Archie Ryan, and he was racing in a pro event, and because you know, he's so young, he has been given an offer by a pro world tour team, which is the best teams in the world, called Jumbo Visma. They're like one of the best teams in the world. They brought him in, but he won't be racing professional till next year, but he's so young. But didn't he go off and race for Ireland there this week in the Tour de l'Avenir, which is a pro race, and he won a stage of it on his own. So he couldn't even, he won a stage on his own. He's so young. But there's a couple of young lads. Well, it's great.
Yeah, it's great to get our athletes on the world stage. Sonia Sullivan, I suppose, was a trailblazer.
And her daughter,
you know, who went on and won world titles and ran in the Olympics, and you know, so many great athletes have come as a direct result of just what Sonia Sullivan has done. Like, so, you know, we have the quality just to get us out there on the stage, on the world stage.
Oh yeah, and like we had a lad there from Cork, Eddie Dunbar, started the Tour of Spain, and unfortunately he's out now because he had a couple of crashes. It's a kind of a messy race with the weather, and the organization isn't great this year. But he's out. But he was picked as team leader on the biggest race in the world, which is shocking, you know, because we haven't had that in so long, where we've had an Irishman going back over the years that has been at that level, you know. But all sports is like that. But it's not just the boxing, but it's I think, and rowing as well now, because I'm involved in the rowing back here a lot.
The rowing, the Donovan brothers, absolutely.
And there's a Clare husband and wife team, Leah O'Sullivan and her husband. They'd be called the King and Queen of Curragh Racing, and they're from Kilrush, and they're very popular now. They've 4 titles to their name now. 4 titles. So that's I mean, we've a lot. Clare, not just Ireland, but Clare has a lot coming out of here. And taekwondo, we've European champions in Kilrush there with your men. Sorry, no, I've forgotten his name. But we have 3 members of the Clare were a part of the team that went to the European Championships, and they took gold and silver, and that was from taekwondo, championship and that going off to the Worlds. So we could have a world champion soon. Because the lad that he beat in the European is a German, I believe, or a Norwegian. No, it's a German, and he's the world champion. So this Clare lad, the Kilrush lad, beat the world champion to win the European championship, and so that's going to be exciting. So that's coming up here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, that was a great little roundup there of some other sports. I mean, it was great to have a bit of everything to talk about, all sorts of sport, and the rugby too. I forgot to mention the performance there. I don't know if you watched the game.
I did, yeah.
Oh, I'm actually delighted that they were put under pressure, because it might open up some of the weaknesses. So we're not going into the World Cup too confident. I mean, I know there was an injury there. I believe Cian Healy's gone now, but
unfortunately, it's unfortunate for him. Reading the social media and the national media, you would think there was a death in the family. Really, it's unfortunate for Cian Healy, like, but it got wall-to-wall coverage. Like, if players get injured, I mean, that's part. You have to expect that. Like, it's unfortunate for him. Like, but he's lost as another man's gain. So, but hopefully now that this team can go and perform at the World Cup, because they haven't performed at any World Cup really in a long while since they beat Australia back in the early 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And they almost beat Australia, was it? Only for a late try, but the nation holds its breath, as was famously once said. We're going to, we're waiting for this now for a long time. So our national team are going to go out there on the world stage as well. Talk about world stages, that's a big one. And number one in the world. It's at the moment ranked number one in the world, I believe.
Yeah. For so 2 years now, it was on our second year.
When you see South Africa, when you see the All Blacks, what they're going to bring at France, I suppose France are probably favourites with the All Blacks in South Africa. So
well, the All Blacks,
if we perform, we'll be there.
Yeah. The All Blacks are really in trouble now, because they had a devastating defeat as well to South Africa.
Yeah, but do you read into them? Do you read too much into them? Like,
yeah, true. I mean,
the All Blacks are so professional. They're going to the world stage is where they want to do it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Even Ireland, we beat the All Blacks a couple of times, but really only test games. Like, so this is the stage the All Blacks should be ready for this. I feel, and they always will. Like, they're the most successful team in it down through the years. Yeah, the Springbok are going to be good as well. Like, it's going to be a great tournament. We really look forward to our opening game, like, and getting behind the boys and really again.
They were saying on media that the rounds for the World Cup, they were a bit shocking. They said, no, I haven't looked at it yet, but they opened the different tables and rounds that are being played were a bit. They obviously wouldn't favour. They should have been done differently, but I haven't had a chance to look into. Maybe that's another conversation for another show, but I want to have a look at that now.
Yeah, you talk about seeding or whatever. I don't know, but but sure, the best team is going to win the World Cup, no matter what group they're going to put in.
True.
That's the short in the heart of it, like, so.
Tis like
you'll always have them debates, and as long as media is around, you're going to have them debates of ifs, ands, and buts.
Exactly.
But it's generally the best team in any competition. Very rarely do you see it, no team is going to win because they were seeded in a group or because they got an easier group. When it comes down to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, it's the bias in, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's generally the four teams in the semi-finals are generally the four best teams. Where you hear the hard luck story.
Yeah.
They're probably the hard luck story in this competition as well, but that's part of sport.
Yeah. Listen, I will probably just call it a day now, and we look forward to football. And it's going to be an interesting weekend for the football. A lot of lads going to
teams. A lot of questions going to be answered.
Yeah, it's going to be a serious relegation, and then the following week it'll be the same. It's unusual, right, for this to be finished, to be moving so quickly, so early in the year. We'd all be used to the stuff going into September. So that's going to be, because I'll probably make it easier for the colleges too when they start playing and everything is brought forward.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so I think this weekend I'll try and get to a few games here myself. Because I'm part of the squad that's playing against the Banner in the 9th of September for the Junior C. So Kilkee
Right, yeah.
has playing. So we're looking pretty good. We've a few
We'll
people.
have to go. We'll have to go and see. You
We've
might want to stand the line, sure, but
Well, I tell you something. You might not get a word in edgeways with
we,
Mick O'Neill down there. He can be here. He can be heard from five counties away.
we might be like the boys from the Muppet Show, like, we go up with the stand there.
Well, I tell you,
Two, two boys.
we have lads at the age of 17 all the way up to 50, and we still. But we have a
Yeah.
couple. We have two lads that are. We have one lad that's gone away now. He's in Dubai. Conan Fitzgerald, so to be hopes to get him back for the game.
Yeah.
He'd be a crucial element to the game, and I believe Cian Corey is injured a little bit from football, so plays for Kilmeiler, so there's it's still up in the air. It's just getting in a performance like we did back against Killanena there a couple of weeks back.
That was the super win, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a huge boost to the area, not just for the team, but for hurling and the sport.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
listen,
Absolutely great to see it. Great to see it.
Yes, great. It keeps me active. I'm 51 years of age, and I can't wait to be down there. I've been at every training session, and I shouldn't be there. I know I should be smoking my pipe, my feet up, waiting for retirement. But I just love going down to puck a ball up. Even if I'm in the goals and with an injury, I go in the goals with the lads and they can fire them at me. Anything just to be a part of it. It's great to be a part of it. And
I said there was a man in Ireland one time, Michael Leary, and he was known as Mickey Leary, and he used to play goals. And somebody asked him, was he any good? And he said, I stopped the ones I could see. He said, and the ones I couldn't see, he said he couldn't stop them. That was the way he put it.
Yeah, okay. Listen, Nicholas, it was great chatting with you, and we'll catch up next week, and hopefully Seamus will be able to catch up with Seamus, and we'll have a look through the football, and then
get back on the team. Yeah.
Yes, we'll run him back on the team. I'll talk to you later, Nicholas.
Great stuff. Have a
Safe
good day.
And hopefully you're not rushing between games now this weekend, and you can get there.
Well, I have to look at the pictures now again to see what's happened.
Yeah, we're going to put
JP might come up with that helicopter.
I was just going to say we might need the helicopter to shuffle us from game to game.
Yeah, it would be great. Anyway,
great, Nicholas. Talk to you again now, and good to you. Bye now.
Bye.